This may be a Q&A and update video for Awoken, but first, I have some questions for you. Your favorite character is Murphy, and I respect it, but why would you fight the parasite? And why do you want Koro to die? There's been Awoken fan art and Awoken edits, and I just want to give a shout out to those people. You're the best. Are any of the characters coming back for another project? Yes. Is there going to be a season 2? Yes. When will season 2 Awoken come out? Yes. To answer these next few questions, we need to go back in time. Now, for those that don't know, I had a channel before Slightly Insulting. It was Kit Kat Galaxy. Now, this was a solo channel where I made my own sci-fi content. We need to go all the way back to 2017, 14-year-old me. It's almost Halloween, and up until this point, I had been just copying Aphmau. I used to be an Aphmau copycat, okay? I used to make my rip-offs of Minecraft diaries, and anyway, I had reached a point where I realized I wasn't passionate about anything I was making, and so I was like, okay, what do I actually like? What do I watch in my own time? And I realized it was sci-fi. And so I made the original Awoken series. Yes, that's right. I've made Awoken before. Now keep in mind that the original series is completely different. Here's a quick rundown. Earth is invaded by aliens, and so they take all the survivors that for some reason are all under the age of 18, so teenagers and kids, and they put them into sleeping pods. Yes, you heard me right, sleeping pods, not cryopods. And then they wake up on an alien ship, I don't know, however long later, like hundreds of years later probably. You have Raven. She explores the ship, she meets up with what we now call the Awoken crew, but back then it was just a group of teenagers. And season 1 is just based on a spaceship. It's all confined to this alien spaceship. Season 2, they crash land on an alien planet, which back then I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so it was just a normal default generated world, but we'll look past that. Season 3, I don't know what was going on in the last season. I couldn't tell you. There's 2 side miniseries as well, they don't matter. Raven sucked. She was supposed to be super smart, but it was written by 14-year-old me, so I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Also, she has the Force. Murphy, his whole personality is he has anger issues. And that's paired with Haley, who becomes his girlfriend in season 1. Yes, I know. Haley is a girly girl and her whole role is to fix Murphy. Styles is comedic relief. Also, he's like a doctor, but he's a teenager. That totally makes sense. Koro. Oh, Koro. He was just there. He is the most useful, useless character I've written in my life. Grayson's still a jerk, and he has a rivalry with Murphy over Haley, which is why I made them fight in the new Awoken, because I thought it was funny. Oh yeah, Raven and Murphy never get along in the original series, so that kind of inspired their relationship and their dynamic. Anyway, at the end of the 3rd season, I cancelled the series, and I promised myself and I told other people that one day I will bring back Awoken. Because I knew that there was something in Awoken. There was a story I wanted to tell, and I just wasn't smart enough back then to figure it out. And it was when I finished high school, whatever year it was, that I had a light bulb moment. And it went like this. I was thinking about how much I hate time loops. And then I started a train of thought, and it led me to thinking about a time loop in space, on a spaceship. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then it reminded me of my favorite short story. My favorite short story is Beyond the Aquila Rift by Alastair Reynolds. Now, this is a completely different story to Awoken. However, it has inspired more than you would believe. So without spoiling the twist, because the twist is the best part, the ending is the best part, but I won't spoil it. It's about a spaceship crew that travels through the galactic network, a system of wormhole-like gates used for faster-than-light travel. What should have been a routine jump goes wrong, sending them to the far edge of the galaxy, light years off course, beyond the Aquila Rift. Stranded in the unknown, they struggle to understand what went so wrong. Now there is this huge plot twist, but essentially what I took from this is that I love this idea of going through something and ending up somewhere you're not supposed to be. And I connected this back to this time loop idea I was coming up with, and I was like, ooh, that's cool. Now at this point, I didn't know what the time loop was. I didn't know back then that it was going to be a simulation and, you know, have next year enterprises and all that. But at this point, I just had this concept. And then it was the light bulb moment of holy shit, this is Awoken. This is literally the idea I have waited years for to finally figure out. And then from there I started building the new Awoken. That should answer those two questions. Other inspirations actually, so we've got Alastair Reynolds just in general as a writer. Red Rising is my favorite book series. It inspired the Martian Republic. We have, what is it? I wouldn't say Mass Effect just because I wrote the script before I knew of the existence of Mass Effect. I played Mass Effect for the first time while I was filming. Half-Life actually inspired me as well while I was in the middle of filming. Dune! How could I forget Dune? No, probably no one's gonna understand why Dune inspired me to make Awoken, but it did. It did. Anyway, that's the history of Awoken, I guess. So, I had some things planned like the Martian Republic and Nexia stuff, but beyond that, no, I wasn't really planning to make the universe as big as it is now. And I think it was during filming. During filming, I just had so much time to think about things, and I was enjoying it so much to the point that I was like, you know what? I am going to expand this. And then, I had to add Gloriam. Skyburner came actually a lot later. There is plans for a Murphy spin-off prequel thing that I'm going to do after season 2. And yeah, there's just a bunch of other stuff that happened. But no, it was not the plan originally. Hardest moments to film? This is a really interesting question, and I don't think you would believe what the hardest scene to film was. It was this scene. This little scene, right? However, trying to animate every single character floating was so painful, you have no idea. It's so funny you asked this question because the finale I ended up posting is not the original. Okay, so I wrote the Awoken script in 2023, and by the time I got to filming the finale, it was over a year later. So the script was pretty old, and at that point I'd done a lot more world building and there was plot holes, and I just didn't like it and it wasn't satisfying. So then in about a week, I rewrote the entire finale script, sent it to the VAs. We had Anthony and Sophie do a live recording session, so I was live directing. So yes, the finale was originally different, and for those of you that want to know what the original script was, it's similar, but it's like the deaths of Styles and Grayson is different. So in the original, Grayson was supposed to go to the antimatter reactor and set it to self-destruct. And then Raven and Murphy would confront him. They'd have a bit of a conversation there. And Grayson was going to attempt to kill Raven, and then Murphy kills him. Styles was supposed to be brain dead, so he was never meant to get any screen time in the finale, but then, we moved it to the end, so then we added a few lines for him, but that's why Styles doesn't have much dialogue in the finale. Oh, right, so there's 2 scenes I added completely. So the one where Murphy grieves his soldiers' deaths, and he kind of reflects on that, and he has a moment, and then Raven has a moment. That never used to be there. And then the hallway scene where they have just a normal conversation. That conversation was supposed to be in season 2, but then I think it was Anthony. I'm pretty sure Anthony looked at the script and said that going from that scene to the last scene was a bit jarring, and he suggested that we have a conversation, just a normal conversation in the hallway to kind of, make it seem like things are gonna be fine, and then suddenly it's not fine. The thing is that these aliens don't have names, and there's a reason why. It's because they're not real. So for those of you that don't understand, here is a little explanation on what the simulation actually is. Everything in this simulation is based on the character's fears or experiences, meaning that every single alien we see in the simulation is based on at least one of the character's experiences. So, Koro, he's a sci-fi fan, meaning chances are, even though this is 200 years later, chances are he knows what a xenomorph is, which is what the main alien's design is inspired by. So if you looked at this thing and you were like, that's straight up a xenomorph, that was on purpose. That's also why the aliens in season 1 are very cliche, right? They're things that are kind of familiar. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. They don't have names. I will clarify, the only real aliens in this is those robot thingies and this thing, which we haven't said any names for those yet. No, Machine War was 100% its own thing, and then when I was talking about Ad Gloriam with Ray, and I was saying I want to do like a military style thing, I still need to figure out the plot. He was just so determined for Machine War to be canon, to the point that I was like, actually, that works in Ad Gloriam. So yeah, that's how that happened. I would say Murphy's family specifically, they are close in the sense of they have to be, right? They work together. His mum has to train him and teach him things to take her place eventually. But in terms of love, I wouldn't say that that's there, right? Martians, and remember this is stereotypically, this doesn't apply to every single Martian, but on average, a Martian will care more about its planet and its people than their own family. So it's not the person falling on Murphy that breaks the mech suit, it's the little bit beforehand where you see these people with crowbars. I think there's only one with a crowbar. No, isn't there a guy on top of him as well? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Basically, because I put it in the sound effects, I should have just animated the suit breaking. But with the sound effects and the people like on top of him and everything, they're basically pulling apart the suit. Did you know that we have Awoken merch? You can get this cool Nexia hoodie, or if you're not a hoodie person, an Awoken pendant. We've got cryo-wear. The closest I could get to the cryo-wear. We also have the Nexia version of the Insulted shirts and hoodies. However, the part I'm most excited about is this. We have art now. Miles Murphy, Raven Astriel, Haley Loxley, and Koro Corte. Look at them! Look at them! I can't yell. It's very late. Look at him! Look at the merch! Look at the merch! Anyway, hang on a minute. What is that? That's not how you I'm going to be having a few words with Ray. I've planned basically everything at this point. I know what happens in season 2, I know how it ends. I know what happens in season 3. I know the final scene. I know like the final shot of the entire series. Probably Europa. I really love the Jovian Moons. Will season 2 follow the same plot as the original? I'll get to that soon. Will you be nice and give us Maven? Is that the ship name for Murphy and Raven? I know it might sound weird to ask this, but is any Awoken season gonna have like space zombies as the monsters? How did you know? Well, you just described season 3. I'm assuming you're talking about fight scenes, and if you just mean fight scenes, it probably has about the same as season 1. If you mean just general, like just action, I would say season 2 has more action than season 1. I'm moving over to BBS mod. I've been using Blockbuster for so long now, it's not funny, and while I love the mod so much, over time there's been more and more limitations. The biggest one is lag. Before I started building for Skyburner, I had to make a decision. Either I would move to BBS now and rebuild everything I've built so far, which is the SS Trinity, Europa, and any other sets that I need again, like Mars. Then I have to do it now, or I stay on Blockbuster for the rest of the series, and I decided to move over to BBS. Downside to this is I can no longer use any of the sets I've built, because if I try to move them over to 1.20.1, everything's just going to be corrupted. Something else as well is I'm fully moving over to emoticons models now. So for those that don't understand what that is, this is just a normal player model and this is emoticons. So emoticons has bendy arms, bendy legs, and I usually use it for fight scenes and some other scenes as well. And you may have noticed in Ad Gloriam, I started using emoticons a little bit more, and it's kind of like a hybrid between normal models and emoticons, but now I am fully moving over to emoticons because I think it looks better and we can have more control over the animation. So, let's talk about Skyburner. First things first is there are two major sets. You have Europa, which we've already seen, and essentially I've rebuilt the entirety of Europa because, as I said before, I can't use the old sets, so here is footage of the new Europa that I've been building since Ad Gloriam. It's all chisels and bits! I love chisels and bits. I'm obsessed with this mod. So this is new Europa. So here's some information about Skyburner. It is a prison break. So while we are on Europa for a little bit, most of the mini-series is going to be in a maximum security prison. And yeah, it's a prison break. There's not much more to it. It's a group of criminals breaking out of a prison, and that's it. I didn't make a very complex plot for Skyburner simply because it doesn't need it. I care a lot more about introducing this new cast of characters and making it more fun than serious, because so far Awoken and Ad Gloriam are really, really serious and a little dark, especially Ad Gloriam. So you will notice that the tone of Skyburner is completely different. I would argue it's a comedy. It's borderline comedy. There are going to be 3 episodes because it's a mini-series with a total runtime of 45 minutes. It may be bumped up to 50 minutes excluding credits. And now for the cast announcement for Skyburner. We have Ray Polaris as Gemma Lauren. She is a reporter, in fact the same reporter that spoke at the start of Ad Gloriam. This is Lexa Fawn. She is voiced by Sarah Jacqueline, and she was in the post-credit scene of Ad Gloriam. I'm not going to say much about her, but just know that she's freaking awesome. We also have 2 other new male characters, Vega and Nikolai. Also, Cyrus, voiced by Leo J, is coming back. He's the guy that spoke to Murphy in Season 1, Episode 1, so he actually does have a little bit of a bigger role, and he's also in Skyburner. We have Warden Judy Tarek, the antagonist voiced by Megan is not dumb. We have this guy named Mickey, who I'm not going to tell you anything about, you're just going to have to wait and see who the hell he is. And finally, we do have a guest appearance of Anthony Lepore, Miles Murphy. And that's all I'm going to share about Skyburner. It's time to talk about Awoken Season 2, which is probably why you're all here and why you've sat through this entire video, or maybe you skipped, and if you skipped, I respect it. I just want to say before I show you this, that Season 2 has the biggest set I've built in my life. So just keep in mind what you're about to see. I didn't build it on World Painter. I don't have a build team. I did it all by myself with the power of World Edit and Axiom. Awoken Season 2 is set on an alien planet.